Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Circle of the Earth Fellowship Roundtable. Hope you're excited for this one. We got it right here. It's all about the firmament, and we got that in the original roundtable logo. So hopefully y'all are excited because we got a lot of cool stuff to show y'all. But before we get into the episode, like always, let's say hi to those who are on the panel and get into it. So yeah, welcome everybody. Let's go ahead and hide this since showing it, just destroying. Okay, there we go. Welcome everybody. We have Marsha's not with us tonight. She's feeling a little ill, but she is in the chat. So good to see you, sister. Hope you do better. I hope you get to feeling better. But yeah, let's jump over to Robert. Welcome, brother. Good to see you. I know it's not Shabbat Shalom to you anymore, so Shalom. Yeah, our expanse. That recent episode where Sean was talking, they had that four-way debate. Um, so interesting, right? Because they didn't want to talk about it, right? And
Robert has no sound.
oh, thank you, wife. No sound. Okay, apologize. Okay. All right. The days are getting shorter. I apologize, people. The reason why I have to click that button, because if I don't, y'all would hear all the stuff in the background. Y'all would hear multiple echoes of stuff. So I apologize, Robert, for having you muted that whole time. But I know you don't want to talk anymore, so get into it. Let's jump over to Kyle. Welcome, brother. Shabbat Shalom. Okay, he's muted by himself. That's not me, okay?
Yeah, that was me. Yeah. Shabbat Shalom, guys. Good to see you guys. Yeah, this is a fun topic. Everyone loves talking about the firmament. Obviously, there's parts that, certain groups of Christians who don't believe in the firmament that the Bible describes. So it's cool to see how much that it really details on the several layers to it, and obviously we're going to get into more of it, but it's just something we're never taught in school, and I thought it was one of the coolest things to come into cosmology.
Yeah.
And I was reading the Bible. Sorry, I was going to say I always skipped it when I read the Bible because I didn't understand cosmology, so I just read right over it.
Yeah, well, there's no way I can possibly understand what this is. It's above my understanding.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, and it's like that, right? With when you make the Bible metaphors, in my opinion, is it makes it really hard to know which metaphor is what and how it applies to when and where and who but whole nother topic. But yeah, this is going to be a fun topic to talk about. We got lots to share. Let's jump over to Frankie B. Frankie B, Shabbat Shalom, brother. Good to see you. Hello.
Hey everyone, how you doing?
You're very low.
Feel better, Marcia. CIA. Yeah, let's do it. Let's get under the dome, baby.
That's how you know she's a wolf in sheep's clothing, because in her name is CIA. She's from Mars, and she's Mars CIA. I joke. Okay. Yeah, let's get into it. Okay, sweet. Little housekeeping, and then yeah, we'll get into discussing, and watching and sharing some stuff about this topic. So. Let me pull that up for everyone. That is over here. Boom. Nope, wrong one. This one, and we want to share this. So first and foremost, I want to take a second to shout out to Take on the World. They allow us to share our puzzle pieces with their family, so we always want to show our gratitude by saying, hey, if you haven't checked out Take on the World, check it out. Lots of different creators, lots of great content, yeah, definitely check it out if you haven't. If you're over on Take on the World or you're seeing us for the first time, we obviously have our own channel, Circle of the Earth Fellowship. So if you'd like to support there, we're up to 1226. So thank you to all the recent subscribers. It does obviously help the channel grow and get out there to more people, get more puzzle pieces to the table. Sweet. So check us out. We're at 179 videos, so we got quite a bit of content, interviews, special guests, all sorts of things. So check that out if you're interested. And we're also over on Lighthouse. We're streaming right now over there as well. So if you haven't checked out Lighthouse, definitely check it out. A lot of good advantages of it. Now it is, as you can see, it's in beta. So it is a work in progress. But I do think they figured out being able to support the channel. So if you'd like to join, I think it is figured out because it looks like it's starting to go through again. So thank you to those who do so. And then if you'd like to support the channel and get something out of it, we got merch. So we got hats, shirts, mugs, all sorts of different stuff. And that is a way that you can not only support the channel, but also get something cool associated with it. And then last but not least, these conversations, as well as our after shows and our Pieces in Plain Sight, Peace Seekers episodes, all take place on Discord. So if you're interested in joining the community, we share recipes and gardening and memes and prayer requests and a whole bunch of different stuff. So if you're interested in that, please check that out. Links are in the description below. Okay, sweet. Let's go ahead and get out of that because we are done. And let's kind of just get into a little open discussion real quick before we get to the sharing. Specifically about this topic, like kind of where, and I think this is kind of a good format, where you used to be on the firmament. And like Kyle gave a little indication, he kind of skipped it because he didn't really understand how to hermeneutically, take it apart into some meaningful hermeneutics. But yeah, let's kind of talk about our before and after. Let's go to you first, Robert. What are your thoughts about the firmament and where you used to think to where you kind of are now with that?
Well, right. I know I mentioned bits and pieces in other episodes, but yeah, I'm totally into the sci-fi, Star Trek, all that fun jazz, and that's just assumed, given that it was it's a round ball and all the moon going around, spinning around. Never really thought much about the science of it and how this all works and how we see the same stars, even though we're whizzing through the galaxy and spinning all over places. Yeah, so I never really thought much about, didn't care, didn't matter. Who cares? What does it matter if it's round or flat, and all that? Yeah. So, but yeah, I found that there is, it does matter for some people. Just like with evolution versus creation, or someone will get connected to God, to Yahweh, in different ways, and this would be one of them. So it does matter for that person.
Yeah, and I think it directly matters to how we read Scripture, right? If we're reading Scripture and it's clearly defining what the stage of this, a thing is, what reality is taking place, right? And we're reading Scripture and we see that there's a beginning and there's an end, right? We have to say, okay, well, in this story, the location matters. Where we are matters. And yeah, for some people, it's not a like you didn't believe in the correct firmament model and you're going to hell, right? And but I do think it is one of those valuable pieces of information because it it takes away kind of the wind out of the sails of the out of the heliocentric model, right? And even the, like you mentioned, evolution, it kind of takes the wind out of the sails there too, because it's like if we're in this enclosed created place, then you could just take evolution out of it, because their whole this was a ball, and all the goo and materials needed somehow eventually got to this place that seeded life. That's a pretty, big claim that has it's a theoretical claim, right? There's no way to go into the past and prove that could even happen. So I agree. It's important conversation. It's important topic to those who it will open their eyes. But I think in general too, there's a reason why they lie about these type of things. So sweet. All right. Well, let's jump over to you, Kyle. What are your thoughts, brother?
Yeah, I mean, I've always kind of appealed to the natural mechanisms that have to work of a contained system. I guess once I understood that, in the biblical cosmology, that we live under a plane that has a dome over it, I can understand how we have air pressure. We have columns of air pressure that, rated by different gases. And to me, it's kind of interesting because, we're told that when we look at these pictures of the ball Earth, it's this, this pressurized air ball in this vacuum, and it's these two, one a pressurized system and the other one a vacuum, which would be a negative, so a positive and negative system right next to each other. And, anything could exist beyond the firmament. It wouldn't matter. There's that container there. That's the point. We don't believe in the space vacuum, obviously, but, it's the concept that, you can only go so high up. Everything that goes up must come down. There's just a fundamental understanding to us living in an enclosed system that's innate with us. And we can see it when we're looking at the stars and the sun and the moon, I believe. We see their orbits, their rotations around that central Polaris, and it's called the arch of the sky, or the dome of the sky, for a reason. Everyone views it as that because it literally does look like a dome over us.
Yeah, and some of that for sure is perspective, right? Like our eyes could only see so far, but isn't that also interesting that the way that our eye views it that way, right? And they want to take all the experience out of it, right? Like, no, you the stars aren't spinning, you are spinning, you're moving, right. They're not moving. And that kind of deal. Oh, thank you to Recycle, just subscribed. Thank you, brother. But yeah, like it's a very interesting thing that they do with the earth, because like another thing, it's almost like, think about it like this: God is pure light, right? And he even says like he can't be in sin, right? So there can't be any sin in you to be able for you to be in his presence. And so, like, they're almost saying with space, it's almost the opposite, where they're saying, like, how can something that is in a vacuum, like full in light, right, have a speck of something inside of it? And they're always changing it, right? Remember how space used to be completely void, and now it's like, no, there's so many particles per such a big area, but is undefined, right?
Yeah, they say that like our atmosphere goes out to the moon. It's like it's not really space. It's like they have to come up with different, excuses over time for why it doesn't make sense.
Yep. Yeah. Totally. All right. Let's jump over to Frankie B, brother. What are your thoughts about the firmament?
Yeah. So when I came into flat Earth and I started researching it, and I found out we're under a dome. I seen all the pictures of the dome and the various ways it could look, and how how the sun and moon rotate around the Earth. I mean, around the inside of the dome. I was watching a TV show. Me and the wife were watching it, called Under the Dome. We watched like 2 seasons of it, and as soon as I realized we were under a firmament, I was like, "Wow, it's all in plain sight." They literally they can't help but tell you where you're living, even though they're lying to you about where they say we're really living. And then there was also a commercial for Apartments.com where the guy was dropping people into the dome, into apartments, and they took that off. They took that show Under the Dome off the air too. So I guess, but when the flat Earth, I was like in 2016, so 2015 was when everyone started to realize we were living under a dome, and people started coming into flat Earth. So yeah. So they'll tell you, but once people start waking up, then they have to pull it, because they don't want, all the sheep waking up.
Well, and I also think that they want to basically demonize truth, the truthers that quote unquote fall for it, right? They want to demonize the characters of the truthers that fall for it, because they can then use those as a means to say, don't look here, right? Look at all these dumb, crazy people. Why would you want to be one of those people, one of those outcast people, right? So they almost put a stigmata. I don't think that's right. I can't think of the... they almost put like a stereotype on the truthers so that people don't want to be associated with, like how we saw the CIA create the term conspiracy theory. So if you say I believe in conspiracy theories, which is obvious, any human knows that humans have come together and conspired to make something happen, right? And definitely if you're a Christian, you believe that the evil one has in multiple times throughout history conspired through creation to do the things that he's done. So at the very least, like, we know that, so they demonize just that term, those phrases, to then say, don't listen to those people, they're crazy. And I think the Firmament and them putting it in TV shows and putting it in The Simpsons and making it this silly thing is for that purpose, is for the influence. Any thoughts, Fingerby? Did we lose you? Oh, maybe. I don't know.
You're muted.
I'm.
The button.
Oh, you're muted, not me.
No,
No, I was watching the video, the stream, and then you're talking in the YouTube.
Oh.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. So, anyways, alrighty. So, let's kind of get into it. We got quite a bit to share. So, world structure. The reason why I named it that is because I think that the structure of our world is important. Like I was saying, in any story, the setting in which that story is taking place is as crucial as the characters within that story. I honestly believe that. And so I think it's important to know where we are. And so our world structure, what it is, where we really live, and how God has proclaimed it to be, should be important in our lives. Though we have little understanding of this grand structure, it is easy to be humbled by its descriptions, knowing it was given the entire second day of creation to be hammered out. From what we do know according to scriptures, it separates the earth from the vast amount of waters above it, that is made from a physical and or spiritual substance, and various other descriptions. As we are unable to freely explore all the earth due to governments, politics, and the military, it is seemingly It is seemingly unfortunate that we cannot confirm this fact with touch, as handfuls of evidence suggest, as scriptures explain, that the firmament does indeed exist. Why would they hide it? Is the firmament just the sky? Join us as we discuss the topic of the firmament and the implications for our and future generations' lives from the perspective of believers seeking the puzzle pieces of truth. So, yeah, that's kind of it in a nutshell. We're going to be sharing, we got quite a bit of videos to share, so these are going to be great. We got some from some great fellow Torah creators, so let's actually jump in there first. And, oh, there we go. I want that, but I also want this. Oh, wrong button. And I want this. So, speaking about creation, Founded Earth Brothers is doing his creation standard teaching right now, and coincidentally, like I had nothing to do with this, my daughter just did her first class, her first like real class, and one of her kind of choices what she could do was make a 3D model of the Earth, right? So she got the Gleason's map and got a clear bowl and put it on top of it, and we're pretty close, right? Like that is a rudimentary example of what it is, but it's a good idea. So shout out to Josh for putting together that class. I know my daughter and my niece are very much enjoying it. So yeah, thanks. We got a little video from him. It's just 1:29. The firmament, up close and brighter. No sound. Okay, let's see what's going on there. Alright, I think I fixed it. Let's try it again. Alright, I apologize, everyone. So obviously this is modern technology where we're able to, get some of these images. And so it's like, oh, this is AI, or this is, just generated. Well, we're going to jump back in time a little bit and go to a 1958. Oh, that's not very long ago. We go to a 1958 encyclopedia and watch this really quickly.
take a really close look at that. And I'm going to zoom it in for you. When they returned to New Zealand, these flights proved the inland areas to be features of the character with a dome 13,000 feet high at about latitude 80 degrees south, longitude 90 degrees east. Now, if this doesn't make sense to you, let me show you with an image of what a flat earth map would look like. Now, this is what a latitude 80 degrees south would look like on a flat earth map. As you can see, the dome comes down closer to you over the wall, which will be about 13,000 feet. Now, if you go back out into the center of the earth, or up the North Pole, and try to go up to the firmament with a little bit of calculation, it's going to show that it's about 385,500 feet away. It's really simple, folks.
So, and that's just one part. We're gonna keep going. Of course, it takes it to a completely different thing. But let's keep going with this video, because this isn't very super far back. But let's just keep going. Well, you'll see what I'm saying. Another great video. FEB makes great videos, so check him out.
Hello,
Obviously,
everyone.
you probably
Welcome
have.
back. I know that many of you have seen the documents that were released by NASA decades ago in relation to how they compute things that go on above the surface of the Earth and how it is relative to a flat, non-rotating Earth. And we've also seen the documents from the CIA that were leaked about the firmament. And my wheels were sort of turning the other day about all of this, because I was trying to think about what this would be like if all of us had been taught that this was true early on, and then there was a group of people who thought the Earth might be spherical and flying around the sun. And how crazy would we think they were until they started finding documents that said the opposite of what this says, that said that all of a sudden, space travel and missiles are computed relative to a spherical rotating Earth that's flying around the sun at 66,600 miles per hour. If the document said that, that would be something worth looking into if we had always believed what the Earth felt and looked like. But there was documents saying otherwise that were either from our trusted space agencies or whatever the case was. That would get my wheels turning, even if I believed in this to begin with. So I was thinking about that and thought, man, if they were finding some documents about the firmament back, a few years ago, what if we can find some more? And sure enough, there are many more documents about the firmament out there. And I wanted to share a few of them. I know that censorship will stop a lot of this stuff from getting out, as it has been lately. I'm hoping that some of you I haven't heard from in a while, that it's just due to censorship and maybe you being unsubscribed as opposed to life circumstances bringing you down. So I'm hoping it's just the censorship, even though that sounds like something YouTubers wouldn't say, but I'm not worried about the censorship. I knew that was going to happen. My concern is with you guys and everything being okay.
All right, so real quickly before we get in this, so what he's basically going to go over here right now is this is military declassified information that shows that they have been, to say the very least, exploring the idea of the firmament, of a hard and fast surface above us. And so this is going to be a lot of scientific talk, but there'll be some payoff. So let's keep chugging along.
Now, as I was going through these documents, you always find weird stuff. I didn't sit there and read real slowly. I kind of skimmed through them, so you may find more things than I did if you start looking. But these are all searchable. I'll show you. I'll leave a link in the description of the website you can search for this stuff in. A lot of this stuff is searchable. Here's some of the declassified CIA documents that were shared in the past, one of them being about the shape of the Earth not being known. And this was by Russia, who was ahead of us, if most of you didn't know that, in the fake space race back in the day and leading up to the moon missions that we pretended to go on.
Please ignore the wag.
And
the flag is
I
waving.
found it weird that they did not know the shape of the Earth back in '49 when they were allegedly sending people into orbit and doing things right after that. I know a lot of you thought that was strange as well, but just to summarize some of the things they were saying in those declassified documents about the firmament. We looked at things where they were testing the brightness of the firmament and the daytime sky and measuring these things, as well as looking at the brightness along the certain parts of the sun and 5 to 6 points of the firmament located at various zenith distances. So they are looking at the distances of the firmament from the sun. Thought that was kind of cool that they are trying to figure this stuff out way back when. And they're talking about the assumptions of this right here that we can't say without getting our videos censored or having that Wikipedia article show up underneath them that gives a bunch of lies. It'll probably show up down there anyways, since I mentioned the firmament. But if you talk about this and this, based on these assumptions of a Earth that is not spherical, and talking about the firmament in the same document, very
Muted.
Let's read this real quick. Near sun halo and also from the sun on the surface perpendicular to the rays. The dissertation contains a certain formula of the brightness of the sky, taking into consideration only the brightness on the first order and derived on the assumption of a flat earth, and giving some conclusions derived on the basis of this formula. For a certain coefficient of transparency of the atmosphere, the brightness of the sky at any point is represented by the deviation of the two functions, of which one is the function of the diffusion of light, and the other a function of the zenith distances of the sun and of the observed points of the sky. On changing of the zenith distances the sun z from 90 to 0 degrees, and brightness of the sky on the accumulator of the sun increases first, reaching a maximum for a certain value of z, and then decreases. A method is also proposed of determining the brightness of the sky daily. Okay, so the reason why I wanted to read this is if you happen to check out the Peace Seekers episode last week when we got into the courses of the heavenly luminaries, it literally talks about this. It talks about the sun getting to a point and then decreasing, and like Robert was talking about in the beginning, unfortunately it was muted, but he was talking about how it upset him that, you know, in the morning now he can't see his front door to put his key in, and the day is getting shorter and shorter and shorter. So not only do we see that in scripture, we see that here. I guess this is the USSR. This isn't American declassified information, but we see them talking about this very thing, including the flat earth and the firmament, again, like Josh pointed out, in the very same paper. So any thoughts before we chug on?
Yeah, it's just interesting how many papers like this exist and how many different countries just mention those exact same things. Like, they're all thinking the same thing, and all make all their math and equations and instruments and tools all formed off of that, theory or understanding that the Earth is a stationary plane. So, kind of funny.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that one on the encyclopedia that you played first, I seen that video before. That's 1958, and it was right in an encyclopedia. And every household when I was growing up had encyclopedias in them. I mean, the people went door to door selling them. That was the only way we had books to do our homework with. We didn't have the internet, so yeah, I possibly had a copy of that because
well, speaking of I'm gonna actually pull myself up bigger real quick. So this right here, it's probably gonna be hard for y'all to read this, but it says Gateway to the Great Books, and this is a Britannica. It's gonna be kind of hard to see, but so this is Britannica. In this book, I'm gonna open it up. Hopefully when I show the page, it will show better. So this was published. Let's see if I don't know if it's going to work. Okay, here we go. It's published. Oh, it's backwards for y'all, but it was published in 1963. And in here, 1963, right? 6 years before the missions. They're having art. They're still publishing. Come on. Come on. Come on, come on. Work for me. Work for me. Let me see if I can get it to... Okay, here we go. Oh. They're still punishing the arguments which support Galileo and the arguments... Oh, let me go back one more. And the art... Oh my gosh. Show the people what I'm trying to show them. And then the arguments brought against Galileo. So in 1963 in Britannica, they're still printing arguments for and against the heliocentric model, right?
How dare you!
How dare you, indeed. So yeah, there's so much out there. Like Kyle said, like Frankie B, there's so much information out there, and they act like like we can't research this stuff, like that we can't read old books. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's keep chugging.
Interesting.
And you can still find them old books at like bookstores, flea markets.
They're expensive though. They are. They're expensive.
Yeah, I'm sure they are. I mean, my grandparents bought them in the 50s. So the encyclopedias that we had were probably had all flat Earth stuff in them.
Yeah. Yep.
And deriving formulas from this. Those of you who believe in the globe, that's okay. Just know that the people who are doing formulas for space travel and experiments were looking into those assumptions and saying they have to assume that, because otherwise they would be completely off with their calculations. Now, here's some more of the documents I found that I thought were cool, and I would like to see more about them. Not that I will. I know the firmament's going to roll away pretty soon, and we're going to see greater things than that. But the second day of creation, this firmament, this great expanse, was made. Stars placed inside of it. And the document here was talking about this equipment, a camera, that was able to capture or photograph the entire firmament down to the horizon. They were using a convex aluminum mirror to reflect the sky. So very cool that they were trying to capture the entire firmament down to the horizon and publishing these works. Maybe more people knew about it than we thought back then. So lots of experiments regarding that. Also seen some about the temperatures of the firmament with really high numbers given, very high. And this is something that talks about the color temperatures of the firmament and how they would amount to 6100 to 1750 Kelvin. That's cool. It's probably why when people were trying to send men in the Air Force up really high back in the day, a lot of them, or one of them, I heard back in the when they were sending them up in balloons, not rockets, the guy came back to Earth and had a fever of 108 degrees. This guy was experiencing something that sent him straight back to Earth. He aborted that mission because he started getting too hot. Could be because of things like this. I know it does get cold at certain points. It's weird. Heat rises, but once you get higher, it gets colder. I know that's just one of those weird things with the science of it all. But it says here that the visual observations of glows, well as the analysis of photographs, showed that the radar echoes also appeared at instance of absence of visible signs of glows in the angle of aperture of the directivity pattern of the radar antenna.
You're muted.
I think this is a good kind of topic to stop and talk about real quick with radio waves, right? They always tell us they bounce it off of a satellite and it comes back down. But what if they just have a reflective surface up there? They get the angle down, boom, they can send a signal anywhere and get information back. So things like, gosh, why can't I think of it? The HARP, right, where they're bouncing stuff up into the ionosphere and then back down. all these technologies start to make more sense, as opposed to it just bouncing off the ionosphere, whatever that means. It's bouncing off of air, it's bouncing off of radio wave. Like, what else is it's there's no solid thing for it to quote unquote bounce off of. It's just this invisible line that they say exists for it to bounce, right? And so the fact that we have these technologies that can talk worldwide makes way more sense than satellites, in my opinion. Not that they don't have satellites.
It's interesting you say HARP because I'll have to find the video, but there's a demonstration of how HARP works on the smaller scale, and it's just this little glass dome tube thing that's filled with, moisture, and they emit the waves, whatever, and that moisture just sinks and drops. So it's, so I'll have to find the video. I'll have to pull it up.
Sweet. Yeah, sounds interesting for sure. Sweet. All right, let's keep checking. We'll watch this for a little bit longer. We're not gonna watch the whole thing, but there's a little bit. There's a lot of good gravy left, but we're gonna leave y'all to go check him out later.
The glows were observed in another section of the firmament. As a rule, the echoes did not appear when visible forms of glow were absent on the firmament. So they're studying some properties of the firmament that we weren't taught about in school. How there are times that certain things echo when these glows are present. That's extremely fascinating. The complexities of this firmament, the movements above, how they can even affect things like the Foucault pendulum and change how fast these things rotate when they're in their set patterns due to their ring magnets and all the things that they put on them to keep them in motion, and the electric pulses and whatnot. These things are affected by the firmament. Really cool, and they were studying that and these radio echoes back then in relation to different glows, to the aurora lights, all of those things they were studying. They were looking at the firmament, knowing it's there. Here's some more where they were capturing the whole firmament and using different technology to do this, different instruments.
Something that just kind of came to my mind that I want to talk about real quick isn't it interesting kind of how the early church, it was probably very bright, very hungry, right? But quickly got overtaken. And I kind of feel like that for our modern science, right? Where these people are writing super based information because there's no agenda behind it. And so you can see the difference of it. It's almost like kind of Disney from 50 years ago to Disney today, right? Like the type of stories Disney told then is much different than the stories they tell now. And they kind of corrupted it over time. So, yeah.
People were figuring out a lot and doing a lot of the things we're doing now, and then some, because they were operating with the wisdom of the fallen, given that the CIA has been satanic at its roots since the beginning.
Oh,
it's
how
not
dare
one of those
you.
things that's for our own good. They make it seem that way in Hollywood movies, and that's part of their plan. If you've seen the documentary Out of Shadows, you'll see what I'm talking about, Mockingbird and a lot of the things that went on. Now, here's one that really, really fascinated me, because the title of one of the segments in this article is called The Shape of the Firmament. And if you look down, it looks like Wide Awake wrote this book here. Talks about rings around the sun and the moon, pseudo-suns, pillars, twinklings of stars, rainbows, refraction, distortion of the sun's and moon's disks at the horizon. Weird that they call them disks, kind of like they did like in Enoch. And it says all sorts of different things, the sound audibility of thunder, that echoing off the firmament. Really cool that they were writing this stuff in books. And I tried to locate this book. You can find some of the ebooks that if you look up these titles, and I'm not sure if I found it or one that contains parts of it, but I'll leave this presentation linked in the description so you can sort through what I'm seeing. I have the links on a lot of these slides where you can just go right back to the document. If not, you can go to that website and just type in some of these little titles.
Muted.
Okay, yeah, so great information there. So many documents like that exist. You can scour, dig deep on the internet, and definitely find treasure troves of it. But let's jump back even more in time and talk about some of the nations' cosmologies.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight we're going to go into the Holy Bible and we're going to flip over to Genesis, the very first book in the Bible. Now let's go down here to chapter 1, verse 6. And God said, "Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters." And God made the firmament, and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament, and it was so. And God called the firmament heaven. And the evening and the morning were the second day. And God said, "Let the waters under the heaven be gathered together unto one place, and let the dry land appear." And it was so. And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters called he seas. And God saw that it was good. Now let's move down to chapter 1, verse 14. And God said, "Let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth." And it was so. And God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also, and God set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth. Now, let's flip over to Psalms 19:1. The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork. Now, for those of you who are biblically illiterate, let me take you to Wikipedia and see what the definition of firmament is. Okay, in biblical cosmology, the firmament is the structure above the atmosphere of earth, conceived as a vast, solid dome. According to the Genesis creation narrative, God created the firmament to separate the waters above the earth from the waters below the earth. And now that you understand what that means, let's look into the Bible and see what picture that it shows of the firmament and the earth and the heavens. Now, would you look at that there? The waters above the firmament, firmament of heaven, the sun, the moon, and the stars underneath the firmament of heaven, the earth, and the ice pillars on the outside. Okay, now, let's take a look at the original Hebrew Bible and see what picture it shows. Imagine that. The same thing. The firmament, the sun, the moon, and the stars under the firmament, the earth, and the ice wall. Now, those two pictures should look familiar to you. Check it out. Now, you understand where this picture comes from. Now, last but not least, let's look at all the pictures of all the ancients and see what they depicted the shape of the earth to be. I'm not going to read them out loud. You guys sit there and take a look at them. Look at each one of them. They all have a flat disc with a firmament over the top of them and the sun and the moon inside that firmament. So, as you can see, once again, this is not something new. All of the ancient civilizations knew where we lived, and they depicted it in their artwork, right there for you to see. And I specifically want to point out the three oldest cultures there is: the Mayans, the Egyptians, and the Incas. Take a good look at their depiction of the earth. The Mayans
have a dome with water rushing over that dome and the sun and the moon and the stars underneath that dome. The Egyptians, as you see, the blue woman represents Mother Earth. The blue represents the oceans above, the dome with the stars fixed in them. And the same with the Incas. You can see a dome over the flat disk Earth with the sun and moon and stars underneath that dome, and they even depict the Shul, hell, underneath the flat disk of Earth. There is only one picture that doesn't line up with all the other depictions of the Earth since the beginning of time, and it looks like this right here. Now, like I said, since the beginning of time, all ancient civilizations depicted the same shape, the same picture of what the Earth looked like, except for one agency called NASA.
Okay, so I want to take a quick second and kind of talk about that. I'm going to jump back a little bit.
And the firmament.
Okay, so the reason why I want to stop here and talk about it, because I'm sure some of y'all have heard arguments like, well, yeah, of course the flat Earth has its origination in pagan cultures. I see Christians using the fact that all of these different cultures pictured the Earth in this fashion as kind of proof from their perspective. Ken Ham is not Ken Ham. Dr. Ham, Dr. Who was the guy that was recently on debating with Sean on Standing for the Truth?
Hemp.
Doug Hemp. Yeah, so Doug Hemp was kind of from the perspective of like, oh, so what? I'm just going to believe some Babylonian mysticism proof about what the Earth's shape is. It's like, they almost say it's like, we know that God is God and that the Bible is true because the Bible predicted the globe, and all the other cultures said that the Earth was flat and and such. But the Bible knew all along that the Earth was actually a globe. It just took science time to catch up to the idea.
Yeah, that's interesting because I see Hebrew on there, and that was from a Hebrew scholar, so.
But they were just dumb shepherds, bro.
Yeah, well, that excuse that, you're just adopting like the pagan customs and traditions. Sure, that may sound good to someone uneducated, but unfortunately, he's the uneducated one in that because literally everything about the heliocentric model is pagan. Mm-hmm. I mean, all of it is centered around pagan gods. Every mission to space is about a pagan god. The entire thing is set up as a Gnostic wet dream, mm-hmm. that one can ascend to the stars and become God himself. So, yeah, it's the other way around, respectfully, Doug Hamp.
Yeah. But I really hear that argument like, oh, it's pagan beliefs. Like you're mixing pagan beliefs. And it's like, isn't that kind of the kettle calling back because you believe in the two dudes in the ghost? So, anyways, all right, let's keep. Great video. Let's keep chugging. Oh, my bad.
Over the top of them, and the sun and the moon inside that firmament.
Let me jump ahead.
Moon and the star, even beginning of time, all ancient civilizations you live. And there's not one of you watching this video that has ever seen this right here with your own eyes. Ain't none of you ever seen this right here with your own eyes. The only time you ever seen this right here was on the television or in the book that the teacher handed to you. And your teacher that handed you that book, she ain't never seen this with her own eyes either. She taught it to you from the book that was handed down to her. And you walking around here thinking you intelligent and know where you live at. But you ain't never seen it with your own eyes, but you believe it. Now I'm going to leave you with one last little verse from the Bible that goes with this picture right here. Okay? We're going to go to Timothy, book 1, chapter 6, verse 20. O Timothy, keep that which is committed to thy trust, avoiding profane and vain babblings and oppositions of science, falsely so called.
Horizon, the sloping sea level, the spin of the earth. Unless
Which
you can
others
see
err
these
concerning the
phenomena
faith.
with your
I think
own
that was
eyes,
important, too.
What was that?
I was just finishing the verse there, which others err concerning the faith.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
may not be true. Unlike what we've been told in school, the Earth looks like a snow globe, round but not sphere. The North Pole is at the center of most flat Earth maps, with the ice of Antarctica holding everything in.
Well, new this morning, all our lives, we've been taught that there's little doubt that the Earth is round, of course. We've seen the images from space, but not everyone's really convinced.
There's a whole group of people who are not convinced. Some common themes are the Earth is not a sphere, as you said. It's not moving. We are not spinning on an axis or revolving around anything. And biblical literalists believing the Earth and everything we see when we look up in the sky exists in sort of a dome. And everything we see when we look up in the sky exists in sort of a dome. And everything we see when we look up in the sky exists in sort of a dome.
Thought for the day, Terry R. Eicher. Everyone, thanks for watching. Have a good night, and God bless.
Okay, so this is on 101 Vids. I don't know the original guy there. It might be, where does it say it? Flat Out Truth. So check him out. It was a great video. He has a great voice as well. So, okay. Let's jump back over here. And we got some more of those declassified documents.
This 100-page declassified document
Shout
from
out,
the CIA library.
West Blaze.
And even This 100-page declassified document from the CIA library, approved for release in the year 2000, includes doctoral dissertations defended in the Scientific Council of the Institute of Physics of the Atmosphere and Institute of Applied Geophysics in the USSR, most notably, atmospheric studies on light scattering. They list several methods and tools used to determine the differences in luminosity of the firmament, mentioning it by name on page 18. Page 19 is where it gets good. We have the mention of a near-sun halo in the opening lines, and then the kicker. This dissertation contains a certain formula of the brightness of the sky, taking into consideration only the brightness of the first order, and derived on the assumption of a flat Earth, and giving some conclusions derived on the basis of this formula. I'm West Blaze, you're watching Uncommon Ground.
Season 3 of Uncommon Ground out right now. Check it out. All right, and we got another legend, Ken Heidebrick from Hanging on His Words. Let's see. Obviously, we're not going to watch this full 44-minute video, but let's see what he has to say.
Hi, welcome to Hanging on His Words. My name's Ken Heidebrecht, and I've noticed a trend over the past few years that seems to be gaining a lot of inertia. What trend? Questioning our heliocentric globe Earth cosmology and scrutinizing its validity to the truth of our Creator's words. Words that He spoke and had His faithful prophets record for us long ago. Not only are believers who have had a previous faith in the Creator of the heavens and the earth coming to different conclusions regarding this matter, but many people who have never had faith in the Creator before are seeing that His word can be trusted and backed by their own experiences. The Most High has placed a desire in my heart to present a version of His creation model that can be easily understood and conceptualized with the usage of graphics and, of course, with Scripture. The Apostle Paul commended a group of Berean Jewish believers in Acts chapter 17 for doing their due diligence in receiving what he had to say about the Messiah and testing it to the Scriptures found in what we call the Old Testament today. My recommendation is that you do the same with all of my videos. If my videos have aided in your faith walk in any way, I simply ask that you would like, share, subscribe, and comment in the comment section below. Even something as simple as hi, I agree, I disagree, whatever. It's great for the algorithms. In doing any of these videos will end up in areas of cyberspace that I, on my lonesome, cannot reach without your help. If you're interested in supporting my ministry, there are options in the video description below for both Patreon and PayPal. And I want to thank my patrons and PayPal donators for all their support. It blesses me and allows me to sow back into the ministry. I pray that you are edified and encouraged by this teaching. Now, on to day 1 of creation.
Great videos. We're just going to skip a little ahead. Definitely support Ken Heidebrick. He is a legend. So let's jump ahead here.
Brothers Enoch, Abraham, Isaiah, Ezekiel, Paul, John, and many other prophets that were given a unique experience in their lifetime. I have not ascended into the heights of heaven like these men, nor have I descended into the depths of Sheol. I have been on this earth plane for going on 34 years now, and what I'm going to be talking about in this video is based off of the understanding that I've gleaned from the words that they've recorded for us. I should also add that the men I just mentioned didn't traverse through the firmaments of heaven when they were extracted from the earth in their bodies of flesh. The texts, depending on which ones we read, say that they were either taken up in the spirit, or they were shown visions, either when they were asleep, or even when they were awake. I think it's important that we understand that, because no man has ascended through the firmaments of heaven save one, our Savior, Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus the Messiah. We need to keep that in mind as we contemplate the biblical creation model and how it relates to our salvation. Salvation being the redemption of our bodies, the freeing of our souls from Sheol, so that we too can ascend the heights of the heavens and dwell with our Father and the holy angels in his kingdom for an eternity.
I want to stop real quick because everything Ken said right there is so beautiful, and getting back to the stage matters. Like what God made and where he put us matters, and it matters not just because this is where the events take place, but that God had the intent, the heart into making what he made. And so to have this ego and be like, no, that's not what God made, that's foolish, this is what God made, to me is it's a pretty interesting way to go through life, or to hold opinions to hold. But we're gonna skip to day 2, 'cause I know he's talking about all of them, but all right, we'll go this for a while. We'll go till day 2.
In the beginning, God made the heavens and the earth. But the earth was unsightly and unfurnished, and darkness was over the deep, and the Spirit of God moved over the water. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God saw the light, that it was good. And God divided between the light and the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening, and there was morning, the first day. For on the first day he created the heavens which are above, and the earth, and the waters, and all the spirits which serve before him, the angels of the presence, and the angels of sanctification, and the angels of the spirit of fire, and the angels of the spirit of the winds, and the angels of the spirit of the clouds, and of darkness, and of snow, and of hail, and of hoarfrost, and all the angels of the voices, and of the thunder, and of the lightning, and the angels of the spirits of the cold, and of heat, and of winter, and of spring, and of autumn, and of summer, and of all the spirits of his creatures, which are in the heavens and on the earth. He created the abysses, and the darkness, eventide and night, and the light, dawn and day, which he has prepared in the knowledge of his heart. And thereupon we saw his works, and praised him, and lauded before him on account of all his works. For 7 great works did he create on the first day. Alright, so now I'm going to present to you the first day of creation. We just read the text in Genesis 1 and Jubilees chapter 2, and we're going to go over each and every one of them. So we're going to start with the 7 great works of creation on
Okay, we're gonna go through this. I definitely suggest you go check this out by yourself, but I don't want to just play his whole video. Let's jump here. Oh, right here.
Which bear the earth and the firmament of the heaven. So he saw winds bearing up the firmament of heaven, which is interesting because, I mean, what are the foundations of the heavens resting on? Well, if we're going to trust Enoch's account, which I do, there are 4 great winds which are holding this entire creation model up. Wind plays an integral part of the overall system of this model, and I'm going to get into that in other videos, but I just wanted to touch base on that really quick. Okay, so we've got the first firmament, or I guess it would technically be the 7th firmament, because I do believe that there are 7 firmaments in this entire creation model, and Yahweh sits on the 7th one. So we got the 6th one, the 5th, the 4th, the 3rd, and before I get to the 2nd one, I'm going to read a bunch of scripture.
Okay, so this is something I want to talk about. This is purely... I'm about this... Ooh, I felt that coming on. This is purely speculative, and I don't know if there's any way to really say one way or the other, but I think it's an interesting thought. Is, so
doesn't Sean believe that there's 7 firmaments too?
Yes, correct.
Thought he was the end of all.
Well, so this depiction that we have right here, right? I'm not saying it's not true, this depiction right here, but it says that it encompasses one another. So I've kind of talked about this before, and I'm going to pull something up real quick. Notepad. Oh, no, wrong thing. So I've wondered if it could possibly... I'm going to show this. Oh, no, y'all won't be able to see that if I do it like that. So let me change window. I'm going to stop, share again, this one. Okay. So I want y'all to be able to see. So I've also wondered if it's kind of like this, and I'm going to do this kind of quickly. So let's say we have a firmament here. Okay, with the earth. Okay, and so he has it encompassing one over the other. Instead of that, couldn't it equally be this firmament, kind of how I have it in the picture, like let's say this is its pillars, it's in the ocean. And so when you get up here, or let me draw a smile, when you get up here, here's the tip of the ocean, you got more land and mountains. And then there's a firmament above this. And then in here, deepest, darkest part of the waters, you go up here, there's an additional firmament and mountains. Do y'all kind of get what I'm drawing here? How it could still encompass it, but be a part of it? So this one is in the oceans of this one. And this one is in the oceans of this one. Does that make sense? Does anyone kind of get what I'm saying? I'm not saying it is this. I was just thinking that is another way you could kind of envision it, where you have your first one, the waters, your second one, the waters, the third one, the waters, the fourth one, the waters, etc., all the way up, and have 7 firmaments still. So just a random thought that I wanted to bring up when he was talking about kind of the way that it could work. So let me pull the other screen back up, watch a little bit of this, and then keep chuckling.
That show why I believe there are multiple firmaments. And starting with Genesis chapter 1 verse 1, in the beginning God made the heavens and the earth. Okay, so that doesn't prove that there are multiple firmament structures, but if you guys have watched my video Firmament, Waters Above, in it I break down the Greek and the Hebrew of the word heaven and firmament, and essentially chapter 1 verses 6 to 8 reveals that Yahweh called the name of the firmament heaven. So if we just want to extract that bit of information and impose it on the following scriptures that I'm going to read where we see heavens, just think it's a synonymous term for the firmament. So Jubilees chapter 2 verse 2 says, "For on the first day he created the heavens, plural, which are above, and the earth." And once again, that corresponds, obviously, with the previous passage I just read where there's multiple heavens. And it makes sense if you think about it. Yahweh had to create the domain where he lives above first, right? If we go to 1 Enoch, chapter 1, verse 4, it says, "And the eternal God will tread upon the earth, even on Mount Sinai, and appear in the strength of his might from the heaven of heavens." The heaven of heavens, that's going to be a common expression.
Real quick, I saw Rachel Grary. Sorry if I butchered that. This is from Ken Heidebrick's Hanging on His Words. Check him out. He has a lot of great content. A very good teacher. So yeah, definitely check him out. All right, let's end it there because we still got tons more and we don't have an infinite amount of time left. Okay, let's get rid of this. And we'll come back to that. Okay, let's go. Okay, yeah, let's go here. So here's some military, the military Operation Fishbowl in 1961. Now they're gonna say these are nukes. I don't believe they're nukes. I think they are bombs for sure. But this is them trying to crack it. So we're not gonna watch all of this, but we're gonna watch some of it.
Hercules, Stripey XM-33, Thor, Johnston Island was the center of launch and experimental activity for the 1962 high-altitude weapon effects testing termed Operation Fishbowl. But Johnston Island was only the core of fishbowl activity. Radiating out in all directions from this tiny island 800 miles southwest of Hawaii were instrumented stations, 266 of them, at sea, in the air, and on land, encompassing a major portion of the Pacific Ocean, all geared to collect effects data from nuclear bursts at high altitudes. Now to set this broad stage in greater detail. Within the limited confines of Johnston Island itself, the operations testing and support facilities were crowded into every spare niche, including space between the existing Air Force Station plant and buildings, with some apparatus and offices crammed into World War II bomb shelters, including the Scientific Readiness Team, Task Force control personnel, and launch control units. At the northwestern end of the island was the Thor launch complex, joined later by Nike Hercules and Stripey units, plus a second Thor pad. Fishbowl's line of more than 30 instrument rocket launchers with attendant checkout facilities were sandwiched between the island's runway and the shore. This Pacific Missile range ship, berthed at the island's lone pier, kept an electronic eye on the missile for range safety purposes. A beacon tracking system followed the scientific pods and rocket instrumentation and backed up the Pacific Missile range tracking and impact prediction systems. Standing offshore were 9 instrumented test ships, vital links in the fishbowl effort, including the DAMP ship, acronym for Downrange Anti-Missile Measurements Program Ship, American Mariner. Pod recovery and surveillance ships, and an evacuation aircraft carrier, which took aboard personnel non-essential to the island operation during each event, completed the ship array in the northern hemisphere. On islands south of the equator, in Johnston's southern magnetic conjugate area, a variety of instrumentation to collect effects data was set up for fishbowl. Stations dotted the American Samoa island of Tutuila, as well as the main islands of the Fiji and Tonga groups, and to the east, Rarotonga. After preparations in Samoa's harbor, Pango Pango, the instrumented motor ship Acania moved out prior to shot day to be on the station designated for each event concurrent with the departure of the balloon launch vessel Haifufu. Fiji's jet airport at Nandi was the operating base for 3 fishbowl aircraft. On each event, a KC-135 and 2 RC-121s gathered southern conjugate effects data. Closer to the equator, the coral atolls of Canton, Kwajalein, and Palmyra also held many of the trailers, structures, and antenna towers representative of the fishbowl test effort. North of Johnston, 4 main Hawaiian islands, as well as French frigate shoals, Midway, and Wake Island, mark the location for many instrumentation sites.
Isn't it really interesting that all of these places were major conflict areas in World War II?
For each event, approximately a dozen test aircraft, including optical and I-burn experiment planes, rose from Oahu's Hickam Air Force Base and headed south. Also to the west on Okinawa, in the far north at Adak and Fairbanks, as well as at Palo Alto, California, instrumentation was operated for fishbowls test events. During the latter part of the operation, other stations were added. All in all, of the 266 fishbowl instrument stations, 156 were on land, while 10 ships housed 80 separate project stations. 15 test aircraft.
What they're basically saying right now is they put a lot of money into this. I wonder why.
Carried the other 30 stations. The need for the test work carried on at Johnston and its far-flung array was compelling, for it stemmed from urgent Department of Defense operational needs requiring that high-altitude phenomena resulting from a nuclear burst be defined with simultaneous direct measurements on military operational equipment. For while America had been making rapid strides in other aspects of missile technology, its investigation of high-altitude nuclear detonation effects had lagged due to the 1958 test moratorium imposed shortly after the nation's first look at nuclear effects at high altitudes. This initial exploration in 1958 was limited to 6 shots, with attempts to collect data with untried experimental instrumentation in an environment alien to the nuclear testers. From a ship in the South Atlantic, 3 small detonations, known as the Argus series, were launched and triggered aloft for the purpose of examining the Christophilus theory that a long-lived belt of trapped electrons could be artificially created by a very high-altitude nuclear explosion. Other effects on Argus, although
Maybe their excuse is they accidentally created the Van Allen belt.
measured, were not thoroughly documented. In the Pacific, as part of the Hardtack series, 3 effect shots, Yucca, Orange, and Teak, were detonated at respectively 26, 43, 77 kilometers, primarily to provide information on the change of blast, nuclear, and thermal effects with increasing altitude. From Hardtack's limited test experimentation, one lesson learned was that widely diverse quantitative effects were produced at different altitudes, including major electromagnetic disturbances, causing communications and radar blackout problems. The nature of each effect could be learned only by actual testing. More than the information they furnished, these 1958 shots indicated how much more there was to learn about nuclear burst-created atmospheric ionization.
Oh, you're muted.
Isn't it interesting? 1959, 1958, 1956. They're all around this time, around the 50s. There's all this interest in the firmament. It's very interesting why that is.
Yeah, I mean, along with their other expeditions around that same time, where they're trying to dig deeply and go out as far as they can south. You know, so
they're testing like all the outer limits.
Yep.
Yeah.
Filling this information gap after the 3.5-year lull was Operation Fishbowl's mission, carefully patterned to the Department of Defense's needs. These operational requirements shaped up into objectives centering around 3 main lines of inquiry. One objective concerned ICBM acquisition, tracking, and intercept problems. It was essential for both defensive and offensive planning that experimental data be obtained on the effects of high-altitude nuclear bursts on radar performance. Another objective dealt with the evaluation of ICBM damage and kill mechanisms. DoD needed an evaluation of the effectiveness of nuclear detonations at high altitude for killing incoming ICBMs, vital to the nation's anti-ICBM effort. This knowledge, in turn, would indicate the relative vulnerability of U.S. ICBM re-entry vehicles. A third objective concerned communications blackout, that is, the loss of signals due to disturbances in the ionosphere caused by high-altitude detonations. It was necessary to know the ensuing effects on military command and control systems.
It's actually quite
long-range communications.
To me, actually, their voice is kind of soothing. I kind of get why the propaganda worked. Wendy.
These military objectives meshed into the overall fishbowl objective of gaining a vertical scale of information for various altitudes and yields. Included in the wide assortment of fishbowl projects were thermal studies on eye burn, investigation of debris distribution, and documentation of the nature and transport of the magnetic field disturbance generated by high-altitude detonations. On Operation Fishbowl, nuclear detonations rent the sky.
Does that not look like it's hitting something and being forced by a container to be blown one way? Like, that's exactly what it looks like to me.
5 times over the Johnston Island area, each time during the hours of darkness.
Yeah, it definitely looks like it's not it doesn't look like it's blowing up in a circular, like a spherical form. It looks like it is circular, like it's hitting against the surface and mushrooming out. Oh, you're muted. You're muted.
Sorry, just like if you poured water into a bowl, like the water would hit the middle and then spread out.
Right.
Yeah. And I don't know what this weird, like, duplication thing is. Anyways, all right, let's keep chugging.
Hours of darkness. Of the 5 fishbowl shots, the highest burst was the 400-kilometer Starfish event, launched by a pod-carrying Thor missile. Its yield was
Thor.
1.4 megatons. In addition to the local phenomena, the transport of bomb debris and other charged particles in the magnetic field produced colorful aurora, arcing into the northern and southern conjugate regions. Checkmate, like Starfish, did not display a well-defined fireball. Checkmate exhibited a moderate aurora seen in both the northern and southern conjugate areas. Kingfish's fireball was well defined and its aurora moderate.
how wouldn't that pressure just come straight down? If they're saying it is like as powerful as it is, like imagine the shockwave of it going downward. Like that seems like a problem. I just kind of thought about that. Yeah.
Yeah, it does seem like an issue.
From these 5 events, we will offer a selection of the test instrumentation associated with the DoD scientific objectives.
Okay, I think that's good enough. What I will say is that what my point is them talking about it, not necessarily that what we just viewed is true. A lot of this stuff looks like it could totally be video doctored, you know, completely fake with the equipment that they had at the time. We saw like the duplications of the clouds, and so there's some fishy stuff. But what my point is for whatever reason they were shooting bombs up really high into the sky is at least their story, and very interesting to say the least. Okay. So this is more of a recent thing. Now, again, what's kind of hard about the firmament, and you know, like that one video said it was 385,000 miles. I don't know how big the firmament is, how tall it is. I think those claims are kind of, again, you can't prove them, so to make those claims, it doesn't really do anything for you. But this video, if you haven't seen, is super interesting, because I don't understand it other than it hitting what we would describe as the firmament. So let's check it out, and we'll go from there. Just look at how much rotational speed is on this thing right now.
It'd be really hard to just stop.
It's spinning so fast that like the pictures are on top of each other of itself.
Yeah, you can see the camera rate. Almost. I'm getting dizzy.
Here it comes. Here it comes.
I don't think those things have like little air brakes on them that can.
Why would they break it? The whole point is to go as high as they can.
Yeah, what would be the point of it getting to a point where it stopped and started falling, and that's where it implores those like little brake mechanism? That doesn't make sense. Sorry, you can't just stop.
Oh look, the world is a ring. Oh look, the world is a globe. Oh look, the world is a ring.
Yeah, it's concave, convex, flat.
What was that?
The moon.
Yeah, earlier the moon was just floating out there.
Sun. Or was that the moon?
Look, the earth is a globe. The earth is a ring. The earth is a globe. The earth is a ring.
Convex is concave.
Yeah, so it hit something, right? Like, I don't know what else what you could say what that was. It literally sounded like water. It literally sounded like it started dripping after it hit it. I'm going to go back real quick and play just that part.
It's a weird noise.
And then here, like, it sounds like rain.
Yeah, like rain on a sheet metal surface. You know.
No, if you were underneath the water and you heard noises, that's what it would sound like.
Yeah.
That's a description. Yeah, exactly.
And how all those sounds are kind of like extenuated, like it was in water.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, super interesting. Alrighty. I think this is like a. Let's go. We'll come back to this. Okay, let's jump here. Got this
Very
article.
nice. The lion guy.
Yeah, we'll come back to that. So this is an article by International Business Times. It says invisible plasma shield, which protects Earth from radiation, discovered 77,200 miles above planet. It says the Earth is protected from the fast-moving killer electrons. Watch out for those invisible terrorists. And by invisible plasma shield, which is located thousands of miles above the Earth's planet surface. According to researchers at Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, and the University of Colorado Boulder. High above the Earth's atmosphere, harmful electrons that make up the outer band of the Van Allen radiation belt travel at nearly the speed of light, pelting everything in their path. Exposure to such high-energy radiation can harm satellite electronics and pose serious health risks to astronauts. How did they get through this in 1969? We don't know. However, despite their intense energy, these electrons circling around the planet's equator cannot come below 7,200 miles from the Earth's surface due to the shield, science said in a study published in the journal Natural on Thursday. It's almost like these electrons are running into a glass wall in space. Daniel Baker of the University of Colorado Boulder and the study's lead author said in a statement, somewhat like the shield created by the force fields on Star Trek that were used to propel alien weapons, we are seeing an invisible shield blocking these electrons. It's an extremely puzzling phenomenon. Ooh, I wonder what that means. Of course, they always have their silly numbers. But yeah, go check out that article if you're interested. Alright, we got a few little things. Okay, did this play something? Okay, let's see what this guy's got.
But I don't remember learning about Auguste Picard. I don't know about you, but I don't remember learning about Auguste Picard in history class. This guy was attaching metal steel balls to hydrogen balloons and seeing how high he could go in the sky. Literally. Super odd. He seemed to be a big influence on science and our history, but again, we don't really hear about him much. Maybe it's because he's a flat earther. As the first man to reach the stratosphere, he said, it seemed a flat disk with an upturned edge. Obviously, that quote right there should tell you that's why you're not hearing about him anymore. This guy is a flat earther. Anybody that's a flat earther is not allowed to be in the public eye. But you know what they do in the public eye? Tell us the truth. This is an artist rendition of what Auguste Picard was doing when he went into the stratosphere, towards the firmament. And what I'm about to show you is a Hennessy commercial that was produced and posted for all of the public to see. This is called Revelation of Method. This is them showing you the truth to your face and then nobody saying anything to NASA and having any problem with it. And just to get your mind in the right frame of reference here, before I play this clip of this commercial showing everybody the truth, this is what biblical cosmology looks like. There's a firmament here holding waters above, hence why the sky might be blue. And here's a bunch of our other ancestors' drawings of what they thought the shape of the earth was. You'll see it happens over and over, the shape of the dome. But after you see this clip, let me know in the comments if you think that they're showing us the truth and everybody's just not realizing it. And if you want to know more of my thoughts, check out my link tree in my bio. I've got a podcast where I talk for 2 hours about things that I can't talk about here, but
this is
enjoy
Caleb
this commercial.
Fee, or Faye. So in a reenactment of Picard's mission, one of them. This is an alcohol company making this advertisement. What in this have you seen so far makes you think of alcohol? Yeah, so again, alcohol commercial. Where in there makes you think of alcohol? Why would an alcohol company make such a thing? I want to see if I can find that real quick. Oh, I'm going to be on Take on the World. Okay, never mind. All right. I think, how long is this one? This one's pretty long.
A lot of people are trying to say this whole...
Let's watch just a couple of minutes of this. Of course, this is the late great Rob Skiba. We surely miss this guy and his research capabilities, and wish he was still around. But we thankfully we have the internet, right, where we can still see him, even though he's in peace, resting in chill. So, but anyways, yeah, let's check out a few minutes of this, and we'll keep going.
Flat Earth thing is a psyop. It started with the CIA or some other, the Illuminati or whatever. If it's a psyop, it started with Moses. In Genesis chapter 1. Let's go through it. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. The earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, let there be light. And there was light. And God saw the light, that it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day. Here we go. And God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. And God made the firmament, divide the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament, and it was so. And God called the firmament heaven, and the evening and the morning were the second day. Well, that word firmament comes from the Hebrew word rakia. Strong's number 7549 describes it as an extended surface, as if beaten out. It's an expanse. You see the descriptions there. Firmament regarded as by the Hebrews as solid and supporting the waters above it. Now, a lot of scholars are out there today suggesting or demanding that the word firmament is simply an expanse. It's the expanse of the air, the atmosphere, and the vacuum of space. Have you heard that before? The firmament is just an expanse. Anybody heard that before? I heard it from my detractors all the time.
I heard it in last debate.
Funny thing is, the Hebrews and the Greeks disagree with that, especially the Hebrew scholars that took their Hebrew
so right, Robert.
Hebrew into Greek. So these are Hebrew people who understand their Hebrew culture, their Hebrew scriptures. They took the Hebrew words and translated them into Greek for the Septuagint. And the word that they chose for the Hebrew word rakia, when they translated it into Greek, was stereoma. And that word, the origin of that word, is a combining form borrowed from Greek where it meant solid, used with reference to hardness, solidity, three-dimensionality in the formation of compound words. And when you just look at other online resources such as blueletterbible.com, look up the word rakia, you'll see right there it's an extended surface, solid, expanse, firmament, expanse, flat as base, support, firmament of a vault of heaven supporting waters above, considered by Hebrews as solid and supporting waters above. Over and over and over again, you see that the Hebrews understood it to be solid. The word rakia comes from a root word raka. Forgive me if I'm pronouncing these words wrong. And when you look up that word, that root word, it talks about to beat, to stamp out, to spread out, to stretch, to stamp out, to beat out, like when you're pounding metal. Spreading metal out by beating on it. I don't know how you can beat on air to create an expanse. And Job, which I believe actually predates Genesis.
What are you limiting God, Rod Skiba? You think God can't beat out air? Like, he's the creator of everything, though.
Comes right out and tells you. In Job chapter 37, verse 18, pick your translation. I grew up in the King James. So the King James says, Hast thou with him spread out the sky, which is strong as a molten looking glass? What's a molten looking glass? It's a mirror made out of beaten down metal. I mean, Job comes right out and tells you this thing is hard. It's like a molten mirror.
How dare you, Rob?
And we know why it's hard. It talks about in Genesis because it's holding waters back from above. It's separated waters above from waters beneath. We see in Ezekiel 1:26, and above the firmament that was over their heads was the likeness of a throne.
Hey, can you pause it for a second?
Absolutely. Anytime y'all have a thought, tell me to pause it.
Yeah, there's a theory that it is made out of hard blue ice. Firmament.
Yeah, I saw Josh talking about that it was like a self-healing blue substance that like the drills would get stuck into it.
Yeah, and it rejuvenates when it gets damaged.
There's also a stone.
Is that his name, Josh? The guy that was talking about that? I think his name's
Josh Keith.
I think his channel's Fringe his channel's Fringe something.
Oh, well, maybe Josh got it from him or that guy got it from Josh, but what I'm talking about is Josh talking about that.
What's the name of Josh's channel?
Founded Earth Brothers.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's a different guy.
But yeah, he talks
got it from.
Yeah. And that's a very interesting thing to talk about its substance, right? That it's like self-healing, and then there's the that blue sapphire glass that like they don't know where it comes from.
Yeah, that would make sense. God made it self-healing too.
Yeah, it would totally make sense.
The pronunciation that I have chosen for the Tetragrammaton, I'm not dogmatic about that. I know some people, it's Yahweh or it's Jehovah or Yehovah. I've kind of gone through all of them in the course of my journey, looking at the various pronunciations of 4 consonants. I've landed on Yahuwah. If you say Yahweh, I'm good with that too. So I don't think it's worth fighting about. We're doing the best we can with 4 consonants. But we see that his throne is sitting on top of this structure, according to Ezekiel. We see in Isaiah, heaven is my throne and the earth is my footstool. We see in Amos chapter 9, verse 6, the one who builds his upper chambers in the heavens and has founded his vaulted dome. The word is aguda, a structure fitted together over the earth. He who calls for the waters of the sea and pours them out on the face of the earth, the Lord Yahuwah is his name. Amos 9:6 is a very
I think you might be muted.
Oh, I'm muted this whole time. Oh my gosh. Okay, so back to what he's saying here brings me again back to Kent Hamp, Dr. Hamp, where he was literally, how can they not see this? I'm gonna go back. Look at this. Above the firmament was the head of the likeness of a throne. Thou said, the Lord is my throne, and the heaven is my footstool, and founded his vaulted dome over the earth. Like, how can they see these things and be like, oh, his vaulted dome? He put the vaulted dome space over the earth. Well, it's also to the sides of the earth and behind the earth and to the bottom of the earth and to the back of the... It's so dumb that people who are Christians will not just believe the words that are in Scripture. I honestly feel that way. Sorry if you believe in the globe. That's my feelings. Oh, oops, wrong button.
The face of the earth, the Lord Yahuwah.
Okay. Go check out his things. We got a couple more to go through before it's over. And we're running out of time. Let's see what Bill Nye the Liar guy has to say.
About what happens when you go the speed of light. I mean, this is we love to ask this question in physics class. It's big fun. Now, one thing I really want your generation to embrace is that the Earth is a closed system. We cannot leave the Earth. There's no place to go. There's no place to throw your trash. And I wouldn't be surprised if maybe not you, but your kids develop ways to mine our landfills. We throw away so much valuable stuff right now, especially raw materials. I may be wrong, of course, always may be wrong, but I wouldn't be surprised if that turns out to be economically reasonable. All this plastic, it's really hard to create and hard to get it to break down. It has value, you know. Now, one thing I really want your generation to embrace is that the Earth is a closed system. We cannot leave the Earth. There's no place to go. There's no place to throw.
Whoa, is Bill Nye actually telling the truth for once? Weird. I'm just going to go through this real quick. This is 100 proofs. There are so many science documents. We didn't even get time to cover it. In 2 hours, we couldn't cover it all the different topics there is about the firmament. But as you can see, there is non-stop CIA documents about the firmament, about the diffusion of light, about all this information that we know about how the system actually works and that they hide from us. So super cool. And we're going to play this last little video. I thought this was really cool. And a lot of us have already talked about how stars look like. It looks like water. It looks like something at the bottom of a pool. So watch what this guy kind of gets. Some of these images this guy gets just with some very simple items.
Okay, I'm going to show you with a bowl of water and the sunlight how the stars and planets reflect through the firmament.
Isn't that exactly what it looks like, guys?
That was weird.
That is so cool. Wendy knows. She takes pictures of all this stuff. Isn't that so interesting?
Now let's have a look at the stars and the planets through a real telescope in comparison to the demonstration I just performed.
Oh, the Earth is spinning too fast. It's hard to keep it in focus. The Earth is spinning, so the object is moving. Like, look at that comparison, how similar that looks. And last week we were talking about water. We were talking about sonoluminescence with frequency and vibration. And you connect that to what we're seeing here. Oh my gosh. Look at that. That's it. That's what we're seeing. But obviously something way more sophisticated.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, 'cause look at that light. It's just crazy colors.
Yeah, he just has an orange bowl, a bowl with water in it, right? Imagine if you had a divine being, you know what I mean, and it reflecting this.
Yeah, it's interesting when you slow it down frame by frame. If you got clear enough footage, you can see oscillating patterns. Like, it's not just like random.
Yeah, there's repeating patterns.
Yeah, it's strange.
Yeah. Pretty cool. I think he just keeps showing the same comparisons. Yeah. Super interesting though, like that idea that he had and coming up with that concept. Yeah, I wonder what if you like did that, like what if you got a bowl and then hooked it up to frequency so you could change its vibration, and then
Right.
look at the reflections.
That would work.
Yeah, I think that'd be pretty good.
You could just put a speaker.
Oh, like a
next to the
speaker
bowl
on
at a
top of
certain,
it,
you
like
know,
it on top
yeah,
of a speaker.
or underneath it, or
Yeah,
whatever.
that's what I'm saying. Like have the speaker and then put the bowl of water on top of the speaker.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a cool. I might have to look at that and maybe play with something.
That'd be cool.
Sweet. All right. Well, we are coming to a close. Thank you all for being here. We'll go ahead and say our goodbyes and call it a stream. So let everyone. I'm guessing Robert. Okay, there we go. So let's jump to you, Robert. Kind of give us your final thoughts about the firmament and this topic, and then and your goodbyes.
It's so hard to cover everything. I got files and I got tons of YouTube saved, and there's hours and hours and hours of stuff. There's so much stuff. How can anyone deny it anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's just so much. It's not so much that you can prove the firmament for sure,
but it's the preponderance, right? The amount of
yeah,
evidence.
the preponderance of evidence, and you can. There's so much stuff they disprove their globe.
Uh-huh.
So
yeah. No, absolutely. And this isn't even the first time this channel's covered the firmament, right? And it's a 2-hour stream, so it's like, how can you hope to cover all of the information in just the 2 hours? But I think we hit on a lot of good nails. So, yeah, and at this point, you know, if kind of saying what you're saying, like, how can anyone deny? It makes me look at guys like Duffy. I don't know if anyone checked out the Austin, him talking to Pastor Duffy. But, you know, he just like, I don't know. I've never looked into it. Well, that's why you believe in the globe, because you've never looked into it. Because if you look into it with a sincere, honest heart, you're going to find some gravy, you know, that's going to change your life. 100%. Alrighty, well, thanks for being here as always, brother. Let's jump over to Kyle. Kyle, give us your final thoughts and your goodbyes.
Yeah, man. You know, the firmament isn't something that we can go out and touch ourselves necessarily. We can't, you know, we'd have to go, if it were even possible, you'd have to go really high up or probably to the coldest, most windiest, you know, most brutal environment on the face of the earth to even potentially do it. But what I will say is that in order to have pressurized air, you need a container, and the firmament works perfectly for that. So I'm gonna go, you know, with that we are enclosed in something and not come up with excuses for why the atmosphere of the air doesn't, you know, expand off into the space vacuum.
Yeah,
and beyond that, obviously the Word of God makes it clear that there's a firmament.
Yeah, and isn't it interesting how doubly the air and the outer regions of the earth are both heavily regulated by governments?
Yep.
You can't freely go into the air. You can't freely go to the ends of the earth. So,
although I'd be curious what they do to, you know, a high altitude balloon with a steel capsule, like
if you try to do Picard today.
Yeah, are they going to try to shoot you down? Can they shoot you down?
Yeah.
Are they going to be able to get it high enough?
Yeah. Well, thanks for being here as always, brother. Love having you here. Last but not least, we got Frankie B. What's your closing thoughts, brother?
Yeah, I just love God's creation.
Amen.
And I do believe there's multiple firmaments. I know you don't believe in that, Vader, but I am looking in. I think there's more. I think because you know, talked about Paul going to the third heaven, and Sean has brought up some good points about it. So
I believe in multiple firmaments. By the way, I do.
Oh, you do? I thought you didn't. Okay,
No,
yeah.
I do.
So, yeah. So, but it, and that it breathes, it restores itself. I mean, God is so wonderful the way he just creates everything. He's given us everything we need. There's everything in this realm that we need. Oh, I actually saw a video that in Ireland they cut out the it's moss that ferments in the ground, and they burn it. They actually cut it in log. It's like mud. Remember we were talking about the giant trees, how we thought they could be coal?
Are you talking about peat moss?
Yeah, peat moss. Yeah. How they use it for firewood.
Uh-huh.
And remember we were talking about the giant trees, the roots that we thought were oil and coal and all these resources. So, and the peat moss, that was like kind of confirmation to me on that one. So, yeah, God is just wonderful. He's created everything for us.
Yeah,
I mean, there's so much abundance in this realm. It's crazy what they're trying to say, that there's scarcity.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely. And to his creation, right? Like, specifically the firmament. He took all day to create the firmament. You know what I mean? Like, that has to say something, right? And, of course, to the Globers, they're just like, oh, yeah, it took them all day to create all the space, right? But per that model, it took billions of years for it to expand. But I digress. So, yeah, the creation is beautiful. His description of creation is beautiful. And it's plain from creation, right, that no man is going to be without excuse.
And one other thing, and we've actually found out that Bill Nye can tell the truth.
We saw it here. Breaking news.
Breaking news. Shabbat shalom, everyone. Dig deep. And don't forget to enjoy the song at the end. And have a glorious week in the creation of Yah.
Oh, you're muted.
Muted again, Vader.
Awesome. Well, I hope you all enjoyed, and yeah, the firmament is definitely there and is definitely a sign of the creator of his handiwork, right, where we see in scripture. So hopefully you all enjoyed the show. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. It does really help the channel grow. And thank you for all the new subscribers, recycled. We appreciate your subscription. But yeah, until next time, guys, Shabbat shalom, and see you tomorrow for Peace Seekers. Book of Enoch part 10, I believe, if you're interested in a reading from that. But yeah, until next time, remember the Abba loved you first. Shalom, everybody.
It's your glory. Conceal the mystery. You give us the honor to search a matter out. You raise up a standard to beat back our enemy. You establish this realm, and like a scroll you spread it out. Dig deep, search it out. Dig deep, seek it out. Dig deep, go on and walk it out. Dig deep, I give you oil to fill